Hey y'all, it's me again, Kendall, coming to you from my quarantine hotel. I have made it a week. I have completed 7 days in quarantine. Today it's Monday, so this is the 8th day of my quarantine. I have 6 more days until I'm out, and I am so ready to be done, right? But I mean, the sun is shining. Luckily, I have windows. I can't go outside and soak up any of that good old vitamin D. But nonetheless, I wanted to do a quarantine chronicles to kind of just reflect on this first week of quarantine. I have one more week. I'll be done next Sunday at 6:20 a.m. I will be hopping in a Didi and heading to Hangzhou airport to go back to Beijing, where I've been waiting to get for 9 months. So this last week quarantine, in all honesty, save for like the first few hours when I was just a total mess and things were just so uncertain, and it just seemed like I kept reaching out for support from this hotel, and I kept getting shut down. So that was making me really nervous. I was extremely anxious. I was angry. I was crying. Like when I'm really angry or feel helpless, I cry. That's not a good thing for anyone. So, and I tend to just keep to myself. So luckily, being alone is baked into quarantine. But luckily, it was just a few hours of struggle. And honestly, this week has not been that bad. I think the biggest challenge has been the food situation. But with the help of one of my amazing human resources reps, Melissa Zhang, she has really helped connect me to people in the hotel that have been able to, get me food that I can actually eat. Now, they still giving me that white bread for breakfast, but I'm getting lots of fruit like I requested. So I'm very grateful that things have honestly worked out better than I anticipated. But when I sit and I reflect, and just a side note, what I'm wearing is one of my sweaters that I make through my online store, The Aspired Life, an extension of my therapy practice. It really speaks to, that's work email. It really speaks to like what I'm having to experience right now. When it deals with quarantine, I have an email to my email list and a blog coming up that I'm working on right now that deals with the quarantine phase of life. I can find a theme out of anything. That's the good old English teacher, right? But so my sweater says growth and healing happen one day, one trial, one triumph at a time. And I can honestly say that even in the short 7 days that I've been alone in quarantine, growth has occurred. One day, one trial, one triumph at a time. So let me just briefly, discuss or share some of the key lessons that I've learned since being in quarantine for the last 8 days. And the first one is listen to my body, right? Every time I come back to China, so the flight from Houston to China, we had multiple stops. I stated this before: Detroit, Seoul, then to Shanghai. I want to say it was over 20 hours, and that's a grueling amount of time, to be in a plane. But luckily, Delta did their thing, had a good flight, can't complain. But when I got here, I was just like, I need to be up. I need to do all these things that I've planned. And my body was like, nope, you're gonna sleep. It normally takes me a week to a week and a half to cycle through and get over jet lag. And my jet lag this time has been strong. So what would normally happen is I would wake up, let me see, I will go to sleep, my body just literally shuts down. It's like I'm working and then I'm asleep. And I don't know like what happened in between. So like around 3:30, 4 o'clock, my body shuts down. Like I can't even keep my eyes open. And then I'll sleep till like 11:30, midnight. And then I'm wide awake. I'm literally wide awake until maybe when I got to get up to go to work, which I'm still working, even in quarantine, at like 8 o'clock. But I'm wide awake I sleep to noon. I, go back to sleep, of course, in and out of sleep. But like 3:30 in the morning, I'm wide awake. I'm wide awake for a good 5 hours. And then I work. And then it cycles again. It's like clockwork. 3:30, boom, done. I have to, shut the blind for the window because I need it to be really pitch black when I'm asleep. But it's listening to my body. It's not trying to force myself to do things that I'm just not physically capable of doing at the moment. One really good thing that's come out of quarantine is I get to rest, unabated, undeterred, undisturbed, unless they're like knocking on my door twice a day to take my temperature. But that is what it is. But I get to rest, and I actually feel rested. I've gotten quality sleep, although it's been very cyclical and out of sorts with me being in China. I'll be fine in a few days, right? When I come out of quarantine, my jet lag should be completely done. But listen to my body, not trying to force myself to do things that I'm struggling with doing, and being okay with that. One of the most important things is not to judge yourself. And I used to struggle with self-judgment a lot. And sometimes I still do. I mean, I'm human. But it's not judging myself for not being able to do that thing, not being able to stay up later than I thought I would, or, go to sleep or push through. Someone was like, well, can you just push through? I'm like, yeah, I could, but why? I have the time to rest, to recuperate, to get rejuvenated. So I might as well take it. Because once I get out of here and start working and, taking clients and therapy and working on all the stuff that I know that I want to do, I'm not going to have this kind of luxury. So I'm going to take advantage of it. Rest is a part of self-care. Quality rest is a part of self-care. Doing nothing can be self-care, right? So listen to yourself. I'm listening to my body, right? The next one would be in quarantine, create a routine. Now, there were days that I stayed in bed and binged Netflix for hours. And I think that's okay because I needed that. Another work email. But I like routine. I like consistency. So the routine that I've created for myself is I don't force myself to wake up at 7:15. That's when, like 7:30 when I get out of here is when I have to be at work, which is fine because I like it. But I get up like 8:30. Wake up at 8:30. I might read for an hour, do some workouts. Unfortunately, I don't have a yoga mat, but I still get the workout done because I have my jump rope. Do some workout, do some reading, do work, meet with students, clients, things of that nature. But it's important for me to, another work email, to kind of map out the format of my day. It helps me to feel productive. So that is definitely something that I would suggest if you are in quarantine, on your way to quarantine, working from home. Treat it just like it's a normal day, and it will help you to feel a bit more productive. I like to see that I've checked off things and not that I've like vegged out the whole day and wasted my time. Because for me, that's where kind of some of the judgment comes in. You've literally done nothing. Well, no. If I watch Netflix, it's because I wanted to watch Netflix. And I'm cool. But the rest of the time, I can be a bit more intentional about what I do in my day. Another one would be to stay productive and engaged. Now, as I stated, productivity can mean multiple things depending on, what phase I'm in of quarantine. But the phase that I'm in right now is finding things that are going to help me to pass this time by and allow me to grow, right? And a big one is reading. I love to read. And I found myself feeling a little guilty because I've been watching a little bit too much TV, too many movies, and not reading as much as I like. So I've, made a pact with myself that I'm going to read multiple hours a day. I just finished the sequel in the Children of Blood and Bone. I finished Children of Virtual Inventions. It was so good. I can't wait for the third part in it. And I've started now How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. And I'm already like, what? So reading books, I have counseling magazines that I brought with me from the US. And I am a writer. I am an author. I love to write. It is so cathartic for me. So being able to write to my email list, sending people the strategies that are part of the community that I'm trying to create for mental health and wellness. I'm a blogger, so working on that. All of these types of creative means that's going to help me to feel productive as I'm not even going to say languish because I'm not languishing. As I grow and heal in quarantine, I'm thriving. I really believe that I'm thriving, and I'm very surprised. I thought this would be challenging. And that's not to say that there haven't been challenging moments, because there was one day this week, I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself, that was hard, for real, but I'll get to that. But the thing is, okay, so planning, all this takes planning, right? Planning is important, but knowing that flexibility is key. But, for me, it's to be reasonable with the things that I'm setting out to do, because I can overdo it. I'm very much an overachiever. I want to go above and beyond. And a lot of times that has caused me stress, and I do it to myself. So I've tried to kind of have spurts of productivity and just chill. And I mean, I have 24 hours in a day, and I'm by myself in quarantine, right? My time is my own. Other than, when I have to work, seeing students, responding to emails, working with clients, or, doing any other responsibilities and duties that deal with my private practice, the rest of my time is my own. So being reasonable is really important. I don't have to do it all at one time. It doesn't all have to get done today. I can do it over time and be okay with that. So one other thing that I've noticed, a lesson that I've learned, that it's really important to stay connected. And for someone like me, I'm usually the one that's reaching out to everyone. So it can be a bit difficult to be on the receiving end of that. And sometimes I've found it hard when I don't receive the type of support that I would expect, right? But then I have to remind myself that everyone is experiencing coronavirus, COVID, quarantine, whatever, in their own time. We all have something that we're going through. So it's to be, lend grace to people. And I've realized that if I'm thinking about somebody, reach out to them. It's pretty simple. But thank goodness that there's kind of like a set time that I talk to my sister, my nieces, brother-in-law, my mom, and my dad. It's my nighttime, which is their morning. No, it's my morning. Oh, I'm getting this backwards. Yeah, my morning, which is their nighttime. And sometimes my early morning, which is their nighttime. And just reaching out to friends on WeChat. I have friends in China that are eager to see me, and I'm eager to see them as well. So yeah, staying connected is really important, especially if you're having a down day, to know that this is temporary. This is temporary. And another thing that I've noticed, I have to schedule time to scroll on social media. Otherwise, I will spend more time on social media than I probably should. I get on Twitter, we start talking politics, and it can be hours. Or Instagram, and I'm just watching people's lives unfold, their highlight reels, and it can be hours. And I noticed that on the day that I wasn't feeling well, I was doing a lot of that, and it kind of exacerbated my negative mood. So I had to make a point to put my phone down and read, or just, take a nap, drink some water, do some exercise, something that was going to lift my mood. And and remind myself that this is temporary. This is not how it's going to be once you leave this forced isolation. And that brings me to my last point is pay attention to your feelings. Um, your feelings are guideposts, right? And there are so many things that can trigger how you feel. And once you notice that something's coming up, your body's reacting, that biophysical feedback, when I get anxious, I get heart palpitations, I get headaches, my hands, start sweating, I get really fidgety. So then I sit with that and I ask myself, what's happening? Like, are you thinking something that is making you feel anxious? Are you pondering on something? Has someone said something? Are you assuming things? And it's just really key to sit with how you feel, not run from it, because it's going to come back again. Sit with it, experience it, and try to work through it. This is where deep breathing comes into play to help you kind of course through that negative sensation. Progressive muscle relaxation. I can show you all how to do that while I'm here, doing a body scan, doing some guided visualization. There's so many ways, so many exercise. Go do some jumping jacks. I can jump rope for 2 minutes. That'll get your heart rate up. That'll get the endorphins flowing. That'll get your serotonin levels up. Your mood will change. So the biggest thing is to know that you are not a slave to your emotions, right? But to run from them isn't the best. Sit with them, acknowledge them, and know that they will be fleeting, but you can be proactive. And I've had to tell myself that repeatedly, especially on the bad day that I had this week, that I have full control, right? I'm not a slave to how I feel. I can do something about it. And that's what I did. I did something about it. So I really have to work hard to silence my inner critic. I think that's part of me being a perfectionist is a lot of times, especially when I'm feeling anxious, I get a bit more rigid. And there was a day that I just really had a really bad day, right? Projecting myself into the future, anxiety bound, rigid thinking. And I just really had to work on myself. I had to just calm down. I talked to my sister, work through some of the strategies that I would share with the client. And I'm good. And since then, quarantine has been better. I mean, they still keep sending me these loaves of bread, but they're sending me lots of fruit and I have plenty of water. So I really can't complain. I got good books. I got water. I got my Melaleuca stuff. Look, I have my Simply Fit fruit clusters, the blueberry and the mango. I have my essential oils. My computer works. Good old hotspot. I'm good, right? It'll probably be weird to get out of quarantine. But something that I'm doing every day is I'm practicing gratitude. Wake up, pray. I need to do better with reading my scriptures in the morning, especially since my church sends out scriptures to read on a daily basis. I know I need to do better with that. But practicing gratitude, identifying things that I'm grateful for in the morning so that I can kind of set the tone for my day. I've stayed, sitting with my feelings, reminding myself this is temporary. I'm going to be out this mug in 6 days. Quarantine is over in 6 days. And the biggest one is I can't judge myself. I'm definitely not traveling outside of China until I leave because I don't want to do this again. But I just kind of have to roll with it, right? I have radical acceptance. I know y'all hear me talk about that all the time. I have to do it. If I want to come back to China, I have to do quarantine. So I might as well do it to the best of my ability. Accept what I have to do and make it as productive as I can and not judge myself in the process, right? It's growth, baby. It's all growth. And so I'm honestly grateful for this opportunity, for this time of forced isolation, to continue to learn about myself, and learn that it's okay to be alone because being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. And people that really know me will tell you that that's one of my biggest fears is feeling alone, right? And there have been times when I felt alone in a room full of people. But it's knowing that I love my company. I love what I bring to the table. I love how I feel when I'm recharging in my own space, and then I can put out the best me into the world when I'm then again energized by people that I care for. So it's doing what I can to take advantage of this golden opportunity that I don't want to do again. But I'm glad that I have it. You know, the sun is shining. I'm healthy. My room is clean-ish, and I have food to eat. So I really can't complain. But all of this has really had me think about the quarantine phases of our life, right? The phases of our life when we feel alone, when we feel isolated, when we don't know what the rest looks like, when we're forced to sit with ourselves. And I'm not going to give too much away because that's actually what I'm writing about this week. So I hope that go to my WeChat, go to my YouTube page. You can listen to this video, follow my blog. It'll be on my website. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube page, Aspire Counseling and Wellness Center. And please subscribe to my site so that you can receive these bi-weekly emails with, tips and strategies and stories, and ways in which to further enrich your mental and physical wellness. I actually have 2 emailing lists. One is also for educators. I am an educator wellness coach. I love being an educator and I love supporting educators. And I definitely want to connect with more of you so that we can continue to build community and support one another, because our mental health and wellness affects our, pedagogical performance, because what we put into the world, it's definitely going to pay off in spades with our kiddos. So yeah, you can follow me on these sites: IG, Facebook, Twitter. I love Twitter. And just leave me your feedback. Let me know what you think. And think about the quarantine phases of your life. I'm really excited to hear what yours may have looked like. Are you in one now? You might be going into one, so you might as well get prepared, right? Growth and healing. Check it out. But thank you for listening to me ramble on my Quarantine Chronicles episode 3. I will talk to you all soon in a few days. I'll do another one of these before I leave, maybe 2. But I just really appreciate you listening. I feel like I'm on the real world, except it's the quarantine edition. So I'm Kendall Tyson, the owner of Aspire Counseling and Wellness Center. As I always say, make sure you prioritize your mental health today. And just remember that you are your biggest investment. So invest in your growth and healing. And on that note, I'm going to sign off. Y'all have an amazing day, all right? Bye.